Hi, I'm Kim,
Hi, I'm Torra.
and this is our podcast, Parenting Young Adults with Kimm and Torra. Thank you for joining us today. Let me say at the outset that when we ended last time, we said we were going to talk more about astral traveling and grounding. But to
Mhm.
do that, I needed to watch a movie called Behind Our Eyes on Netflix. And unfortunately, I have not yet had a chance to watch it. So we're going to delay that conversation until our next episode. And in the meantime, we're going to talk about some other events that are going on now. What's the first event that you would like to talk about today, Tora?
Well, I won't say the coach's name, but I will say the school, and it's in UNC. And there was a coach who was given this wonderful opportunity and platform and job. And today he said he was proud of that, and he was proud to, have this position. But then he also said, and I'm proud that I'm black, and I'm proud that I have a white wife, and I'm proud that I have mixed children. And everybody's up in arms about it. Everybody's going crazy and say, "How dare you?" And one of my favorites, and I'm sorry, but I apologize because he is my favorite. Mark Hill. He's a commentator. He used to be on CNN, but then I think he got fired for saying something
I
inappropriate.
don't know Mark Hill.
Yeah, and he got fired for saying something inappropriate. And he's if you saw his picture, I'm quite sure you'd be like, okay, yeah, I remember
Probably.
seeing him. And but it wasn't anything big that he said it was inappropriate. It was just that because they're owned by a certain platform, they have strict guidelines.
So he commented on this coach.
He did. He commented on the fact that the coach said, uh, I'm proud to be black, and I'm proud that I have a white wife, and I'm proud to have mixed children. And everyone is really like, I guess, topsy turvy about it. Some people are like, "What's wrong with saying that?" Which I'm on that side. Like, what's wrong with saying you're proud that you have a white wife? I mean, you know that there's going to be controversy that comes with this, but what's wrong with saying you're black and you're proud, and you're proud that your wife is white and your children are mixed? It
Let
shows
me
that
ask you
there's
this.
diversity.
Why is he proud? It's okay. Okay, you're proud. But what about those things about having a white wife and having mixed children? What about those things is makes him proud?
I was thinking, just from my perspective, that he's just trying to move the world forward to diversity and showing that, you know, people have changed, times have changed, that we can get jobs, and we can get higher positions and have a biracial
But he
family.
didn't say that.
No.
He just said he's proud that he has a white wife and
Mhm,
he's proud he has mixed children.
mhm.
No, because.
And I think he left out some words, and I'm just trying to fill in the blanks, that words that he might not have chose or might would have chose. But I was thinking, because as black women, we have said so many times, oh, when you see a black man in a high status and or stature in life, and then he has a white woman, you're kind of like thinking, well, you couldn't find a good black woman, or what are our black daughters, gonna have if you all keep marrying outside your race? I think that was the conversation he had in his mind.
Well,
So trying to eliminate that.
they've done some research and showed, I can't remember the exact number, but it was well over 80% of Black men earning more than six figures marry Black women. So there is
I
always
heard
a
that too.
problem of perception
Mhm.
in America that the majority of our men who are big earners marry us, but the media focuses on the small percentage that does not. And so it gives a skewed impression. So I have long since moved away from having any concern about high earners marrying white women or Asians or non-blacks, because it's just a small percentage. And my motto is always, if they don't want us, you can have them,
That's
because
right.
we don't want them
Right. No,
either.
I totally agree with you on that. I 100% I agree. If it's not even I'm trying to diss them, I'm just trying to basically say, I'm not losing any sleep, and I'm not losing any dating life if you
You're
want to.
not checking for us, we're not checking for you.
Yeah, and
But the
I think that's
question, I think the bigger question is he's welcome to be proud about whatever he wants to be proud about.
okay.
But the thing that really just stands out in my mind is I would need to hear from him, why are you proud? Are
Yeah.
you proud merely because she's white and merely because their skin is not black?
Mhm.
Because then I would have a concern. But if you have a particular reason, if not you, if he has a particular reason that makes sense, perhaps I would understand that. But I would say at this time in our history, it is critical for Blacks to unite and for us to perpetuate our race. And that's why I'm not into interracial dating. But I know that we've had conversations, and
Mhm.
your daughters and your children date interracially. And
Uh-huh.
for people that I know personally, I always make a pass. I always give them a pass.
Mhm.
So it doesn't matter to me because they're your children and
Yeah,
I'm going to
yeah,
embrace
absolutely.
whatever it is they're doing. For strangers, I might be thinking, man, you really should be with somebody. You should be with somebody Black, but to each his own. But you should be, I don't know. I think the thing that stands out to me is, what are you proud about?
Mhm.
Let's hear why you're proud, and then maybe we can analyze it, you know.
I watched the Hall of Fame, the NFL Hall of Fame one year with my husband. And I remember hearing these men get up on stage and just say the most beautiful things about this woman. And then the camera would peer to his wife, and she would be a Caucasian woman. And I never heard that. And I know I'm not deaf to it, but I've never heard that from a Black man. I've never heard a Black man yell at the top of his lungs, and I would never have gotten this far in life, and I owe it all to this wonderful woman.
Barack does it for Michelle. The,
Well,
the
that
real Black men do it. Barack does it for Michelle, and other Black men, I have to just think for a moment,
no,
but
I've
real
never heard
Black
them
men
say
do
it
that.
for them to be Black. You know what I mean? I have a beautiful Black woman. I've never heard them say that. You know what I'm saying? I've heard them
Are
say,
these men saying, I have a beautiful white wife?
oh, and for my wife putting up with me, as a Black man, and my wife being, yeah, I've heard so many times. That wasn't, I guess that's why it didn't shock me when the coach said it, because I've heard that before. I've heard that line been said so many times from Black men. Now, I have never heard a Black woman say, I have a white man, and
Candace Owens.
I say it loud and say it proud. Yeah, she will say it in I think more so in a defensive way, because they're like, who else wants you? Look how you act, look how you talk about us. Who else would want you? So she's basically, I think, standing. But as far as, this is just me, I think she didn't get a chance with a good Black man. I don't think she did.
Really?
I
I
can
think that she's attractive, and I don't know. I
I
don't know. I don't
because
know.
there's a, I should have sent you this, but there's a clipping with the judge on TV about this girl who has a light skinned dad, and she's light skinned, but her mother's dark skinned, and her mother's not college educated, and she
I
says,
saw that, and she was ashamed of her mom, and
"Good, I'm glad you saw it, so I don't have to." So that right there is
that's
what,
called mental illness.
yeah.
I mean, that is
But
mental illness.
I've seen it. I've seen this. She wasn't the first person. She's just the one in a public eye. I'm very sad to know that I feel like this generation is more accepting of that. And I've had a little like arguments on social media with people saying, this generation gets a little education and they don't seem to understand that that's not a down on their parents. I've
I mean,
literally.
I just was astonished by that young lady, but I will say this, I just posted a clip, a Gambian clip of Black billboards over in the Gambia, and a couple of them were for skin lightening creams. So there is both there and all throughout the diaspora. Some of us are still brainwashed to believe that lighter skin is better,
Mhm.
that they're just brainwashed to think that. But at the end of the day, you have to know that's not correct, because we're children of the sun. You take me and you take two white women, and we go lay out in the sun in 30, 40 minutes, their skin's peeling, they're cracking all up. We're good. We
Yeah.
might get a little tan. I might still have a little bit of my Africa tan, but we're good. So I can't respect or prefer a type of skin that alienates me from the environment in which I live. Now, anybody else who wants to do that, that's on them. But to me, it's a real sickness. I'm not mad at them, again, because I know that they have succumbed to the programming that has been pushed upon them. For, they've been doing that forever. White is perfect, blonde hair, blue eyes, blondes have more fun. On very subtle levels and blatant levels, they have been programming us for that. So I mostly just feel sad for the people who bought into it. But have you seen those people that have that Black skin that is literally Black, and it is so black that it seems like it's shining.
You are really, you listen. I literally can show you a post where her name is, your daughter is Iman and she's Amon, the model.
Oh, okay.
So
I
she
thought that
just,
girl's name was Iman Chanel. Or you talking about a darker skinned, different one?
no, I'm talking about the model, the famous model.
That used to be married to David Bowie?
Yeah,
Her name
her.
is Iman.
Okay, it is Iman. That's what I thought. Okay, so she I was looking at her page and she posted something about another model, and she was saying when she was coming up that the model that posted that she was talking about, she couldn't take pictures like that. Like Iman had to take pictures with
Put lighter
lighter skin.
foundation on their faces. Tyra Banks talked about that too, the kinds of ways they had to do
Mhm.
their hair. Look at Naomi Campbell. She has no edges
Right.
whatsoever. And we know that's from the way they made her wear her hair.
And actually, Iman was talking about Naomi because Naomi was the model who two black people were in this because Naomi is only using black photographers now. She says she's on
Yes.
one hand how many black photographers she's used in her career, and she said she's done with that. She's done being politically correct. So this guy was the color of our shirts,
I
and
love it.
he
I
looked
love
like
really black men.
glass. He looked halogen. I was just, and I literally wrote this whole thing to her and said, thank you for posting this. And I'm going to send it to you because I literally just wrote, thank you. This made my day. This made my morning. I was like, I don't even know. Naomi and this man in this picture was so
So
gorgeous
gorgeous.
together.
You cannot deny
Deny
the
it.
beauty of that kind of skin. And I will say the man I married has skin lighter than mine. But when I date, both before him and after, I tend to prefer,
Oh,
I
yeah.
like a dark skinned man. I like a black man who's black. And I just love
Let
it.
me tell you,
I
that
just
skin was
love it.
so beautiful. He looked so is it iridescent? Like the colors,
It's
he
like
picked
they're
up
illuminated.
on,
Yeah.
yeah, he picked up on pearls and diamonds. And I just remember looking at this picture of this skinny, tall, um, um, not even Manute Bol. It was so dark. I had never seen the
I've
blue.
seen a lot of them. They post them, but that's the kind of people I follow on social media. So they're always posting those kinds of women and men and saying, now you tell me black isn't beautiful or whatever. So I see it a lot. I haven't dated anybody that dark, but I would. I just am, I'm here
And
for it.
the race is a different race in his eyes and his face and his cheeks and his nose. I was looking at the race and I'm just like, what
No, they're us.
is
They're
that?
us.
What
They're
is
us.
that?
They're unadulterated. We've been
Uh,
mixed in with the Europeans that raped our ancestors and the
mhm,
Native Americans that
mhm.
made it with them. And so we look different, but they are the original in my mind.
Oh,
They're the original. I love it. I love black skin.
I was so intrigued. I was like, thank you, Naomi. But I would love Iman for posting that because she was upset that she couldn't do because she's from Africa. She's from
Yeah,
Ethiopia.
she's from
And you
Somalia,
know
I
what
think.
Ethiopia is? You know it's in
No,
Africa.
Is she from Somalia? I think.
Somalia. But
Mhm.
I thought she was from Ethiopia. That's right. She's from Somalia, which is
But
also,
she married David Bowie.
I know, but she was
And I'm
married,
not mad at her,
she
but
was
she
married to a
married
black
David
man
Bowie.
before.
Oh, I
So
didn't know that.
yeah, she has a daughter and she was married to a black man before. That was before her accident. And
Okay.
some tragedy happened with the marriage and with the man. And so I think, I'm not saying he was a rebellion, but I think because it
It's
was such a
okay.
break, that marriage was such a heartbreak for her. The man took her daughter away and wouldn't let her come to the
African
States.
men do that. He was Somalian
Yeah, yeah.
because when I was talking to some of the Gambian friends I've made,
Mhm.
some of them were saying, when the couple split, the children go with the man over there. The men take the children. They have more resources, all of that. I was like, well, not here, honey.
Not hearing
It's
them, no.
not happening. You better stay over there because you come over here, you're gonna face
Not
a
doing
different
two
story.
wives, and we're not doing you taking my children. We're just not
Right.
certain things. Hey, do your thing. That's your culture, but you will.
Some of my Muslim girlfriends are open to polygamy.
I've been hearing this word polygamy, and I know what even polyamory. I'm like,
Yeah, polyamory.
get out of here. No, we're good. We're
You
both good.
know, the reason I don't just
We're good enough.
before I used to dismiss it out of hand.
Hmm.
The reason I don't do that now is solely because I'm trying to get back to African spirituality. And I believe that I'm not sure if how far back polygamy goes there, but I do know it's something they do. So I don't want that for me, but I'm trying to figure out, how to, I'm okay with it for other people. One of
Hmm.
my friends over there did have two wives, and we went to visit them and we ate with them. The younger wife had just had a baby, and I made a
So
point.
you know they're consummating the marriage. It's not like the bad girls here because she cooked real good or she keeps a good house. And no,
So I made a point of looking at them because in that particular home, the women ate together and the man and his visitor ate separately in that home. Everywhere else I ate, we all sat around together. But in that home, the women ate together. So I made a point of really watching those two women to see if I
yep.
saw animosity. They were thickest, they were tight. And the older woman was helping the younger with the baby, and they were laughing and sharing. So, I guess for different strokes for different
The
folks.
girl that used to do my hair, her husband wanted to bring another woman from Africa here, and her mother and father were 14. I think he had 14 wives. And she was saying that she wanted to break the cycle. She didn't want any part of it. I said, well, girl, you're in America now. Break the cycle. Don't share your
She
man with
was African too.
was. Yeah. And she was born in Senegal. And she said,
Mm.
she was telling me that she just doesn't want to share her husband. I was like, don't, you in the United States of America, don't share him. We don't play that here. Like I don't. I mean, it's some people that do, but
Well, the law doesn't play that.
yeah,
It's
that's what I
called
mean. That's
bigamous.
what I mean.
So,
Yeah, I'm
we,
like, nah,
the laws are not in favor of that. Maybe in what's the state with the
oh,
Mormons?
Utah and
Yeah,
Washington.
maybe in Utah, maybe.
Oh
But
yeah,
that's about it, probably.
oh yeah, they all up north that way, west, I guess, out west, up north. But yeah, no, um, I'm sorry, I'm just not
So the
into.
woman followed your advice and said no, she wasn't going to do it.
Yeah, she said if he did it, she was going to divorce him. And because she said that her mother had roots put on her from one of the wives, because and I know that life, you know what I'm saying? So she said that her mother never was right after that. And she said that put the fear in her. Her mother was like I think closer to the end of the 14 wives. I think she was like 12, maybe the 12th wife, and they didn't like her. The girl who used to braid my hair was very beautiful. She looked just like her mother. Her mother was a specialist in stitch gums to turn the gums black. You know what that is?
Mm-mm.
They take a piece of string and they stitch your gums to turn them completely black. And it's against your white teeth. It's like
Oh,
it was like standard. It was supposed to be really beautiful. And one that she made good money, her independent money, and some of the wives didn't like that because the husband liked her for that. But the rest of them were wives. They didn't, they did wifely duties. But this one, not only did she do her wifely duties, but she also had a trade, and she was very, she got paid a lot of money for this trade.
so they were jealous, which is what it generally boils down to for women.
Yes.
Jealousy over issues with men. I'm sorry. That's just something, that's a personal thing, but I mean, I'm just having an issue with the
And
way women deal with that.
I'm not into making a man feel that superior, that you got all these women fawning over you. Like, get out of here. That makes me upset to even think like that. Like, I can totally be by myself if the man wants to feel like that in a marriage. Like, no, you're good. You can go marry over there as many as you want.
Mhm.
I'm not doing that. I'm not. You're not all that. You're all that to me, but when it comes to other things,
It's not our culture. I
no.
mean, I just try to, refrain from feeling a way about how they live, but it's just not our culture. We're not raised like that. I don't, I always say, I don't think I'm mature enough for that because I don't want my man craving and feeling about another woman the
No.
same way he does about, I
You don't
can't even
share your
wrap my
underwear.
mind
You
around
don't
that.
share your man. Like until you start sharing your underwear with other women, why would you want to share your man with another woman? That's just as gross.
It's not our culture.
No. And that brings me to the new thing about of course we were talking about Paul Pierce,
Mhm.
NBA basketball player who, was enjoying his night out and women were stripping in the background and having a good time. But why are we still doing that? I mean, I understand there has to be strippers, there have to be prostitutes. I'm not saying have to, meaning, but I'm saying
You
it
mean they
like,
were stripping? I thought they were twerking. They were stripping?
stripping, twerking. Yes, they were wearing little to nothing.
Okay.
Thongs, you know, bras, thongs. Yeah, little to no clothes. There was
Okay.
no imagination needed.
Okay.
And I'm just saying, and they were fawning over the, the men in the room. They were allowing themselves to be looked at exactly how they were performing. And I get it. It's a job. Somebody got to do it. Just not, you know. But I want to know, why are we still there? I understand you want to go to a strip club and you want to have a prostitute, you want to do anything in the privacy of your own life, but why must you now put it to make it so public? And why are women allowing it to be so one time it was just an exclusive thing. And
Like
that,
something you might do for your man in the privacy of your home.
yeah, and even if you do it for some other reason, it's
You
not
hid it. Back when women were strippers, back in it was a shameful thing,
right,
and they hid it, and they
right.
didn't want anyone to know.
And you couldn't
Not
get
anymore. Not thanks to.
a doctor and say this is how you pay for your college,
Mhm.
so my thing is, when you put it out there like this, you're never going to normalize it, because that guy over there, he's looking at a homely mother like, oh, you one of them. And it changes. I'm telling you, I don't believe that they can respect all women when they see it in such prevalence like this.
Because are you saying that maybe before they would be like, well, they did used to say she's that kind of woman.
That kind
And
of
you're
woman.
saying perhaps that now they're looking at most women that way because so many women are doing that?
I'm telling you, this is the way men are looking at all women, the up and down, the looking around the corner to look at your butt. It's like everybody's gonna get treated like this. Come on, when are we gonna stop this? I don't want you looking at my children like that. I don't want anyone looking at me like that. I want men to just know, no, that was them. But how you look just like her, you built just like her, you act just like her.
Got that shirt on. Now we're gonna go to look at what you're wearing. You
Look what
look
you're
like you would
wearing.
do that. Yeah.
You have the exact same bathing suit on she had when she was twerking for me and my boys. It's like no one's safe anymore because it's not a secret society. It's not a secret entity. It's so normal. It's not normalized, but that's the only word I can come up with. They're trying to make it
So
so
prevalent. It's so
prevalent.
prevalent.
Yeah.
But I always have to go back to the programming. I always have to stay true to what I really think. And
Mhm.
I think that this whole strip club mentality was intentionally programmed into us via the music industry. I specifically remember that back in the day, I watched music videos.
Mhm.
And then Nelly had a video where he
Yeah.
ran a credit card down some
And he
woman's
told the
behind.
world that the girl asked him to do that. She said,
Okay, so
I
I didn't know that, but he did that, and it started being about the strip club, strip club, strip club. And I had my son around that time,
Mhm.
and I stopped watching music videos because I did not want my
Right.
toddler walking around seeing pose stuff, all that subliminal programming. So I stopped watching videos, but I remember feeling like, why are all the rappers bringing the strip club to the videos? So it was intentional. It was not some mistake or one person did it. And no, there was a planned effort to
Mhm.
send us to the strip club. And now it worked. I mean, we are very susceptible to what we see, and it worked. And we see all the rappers talk about strip clubs. The women go to the strip clubs too,
Oh yeah.
make it
Oh yeah.
rain.
Mhm.
It's all every time somebody wants to
The
celebrate.
female and male strip club. I mean, well, I shouldn't say the club was a strip club for males, but there were male dancers there. And then I have gone to a strip club where there were women there. And each time I felt like, I just want to wrap a fur coat around them and be like, you don't have to do this. You shouldn't do this. I never got it. And
And
I,
women go to the the strip clubs for men now too,
yeah.
and make it rain on the women. I mean, it's a whole.
Oh, yeah.
I'm turning 21. Come on, let's
Mhm.
go to the
Yep.
strip club. It's a whole thing. It's a
It's a
whole
whole
thing.
thing now. It's not the,
I've been to a couple strip clubs. It's not my thing.
not my
It's
thing
not
either.
my thing. I don't. It's just not my thing.
And I always tell the joke to people that when I went to see the male strippers, I wouldn't know what they looked like or what they did because they had the best fried chicken there, and that's all I remember eating.
And
Oh,
you know, for a while, every time somebody had a birthday party or whatever, they wanted to bring male strippers
mhm.
to their homes. So I've been at a couple of those parties too, and they'd be like, "Come on, Kim, come on, loosen up."
Yeah, I
And
went
I'm
to a bachelor
saying,
party
I'm
that
not
had.
being stiff, but I don't know these people. I don't want him humping all on me. I have enough male suitors that if I wanted that, I can get that from somebody I know. This man's flashing it all around everywhere. I
Stranger
don't
and
need
me
that.
don't do it either. Yeah, we do two birds of the same feather. I'm not into the stranger.
I'm just not into it, but they love it. They
Yeah.
love it, and it's a big
Oh,
thing. We're gonna get some male strippers. I'll go
they
to the
think we
party. You know, I'm pretty chill. I'll go to the party, have drinks, eat, laugh, turn up, but I don't need that man humping on me. I can tell you that.
no,
You
I've
know.
never been into that, and I've never wanted to be into that. And that brings us to our next question. That
So let me say another thing about that.
Mhm.
I do realize that it's a specific agenda here and it seems to have worked in America. But when I was in Africa this time, I didn't notice this before, but this time what I noticed is that twerking is a part of our traditional
Oh yeah,
culture.
oh yeah.
And so I actually have a video of a woman who came to the club. She seemed to be affiliated with the band.
Mhm.
She's standing on the tables gyrating and going for it. And I haven't posted it. I'm just questioning, do I even want to put that out there? But it definitely is a part of the culture. I've been to various clubs where they were playing traditional music, saba or mbala or whatever it might be, and the women get on the floor and twerk. So there is a place for that,
But
but it's not everywhere all the time like it is in America.
it was a traditional dance when I would watch that, them dancing and kicking up the dirt and movements. I literally thought it never hypersexualized it when I watched it, because I've always watched African dance my whole life. I watched Indian dance, African dance, Asian dances. I've watched all of. I've
Dancing, all of that.
always been into that. I've always been into cultural dances. Beautiful, you know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
I've never seen it in a hypersexual, even though they would stuff themselves. I don't know if they're still doing that in Africa, but fat was known as the best. If you were a
Some
thicker
countries still do that. That means
woman,
you're wealthy and you're able to eat as much as you want.
and that's what it was when I was into it. So they would stuff their clothes and stuff their dress and pad really nice before they went out, and they would really. And I'm quite sure we probably could still find some videos on YouTube where they talk about stuff, how they stuff their
Oh, yeah, I
clothes.
didn't know that.
I mean, they were already thick, but they thicker was even better. So, and then they would go out, and when they dance, I used to always, oh my God, I would faint because they have layers of clothes on to make themselves thicker, and then they're actually doing the actual tribal African dances. But I think we have taken that, because I know Beyonce has gotten a lot of her dancers dances from Africa, and she's taken some of the culture and brought it to mainstream, but she's never, to me, has taken the class out of it. I think what we see in the clubs and what we see on the streets and at parties, they've taken the class out of it and just made it so ratchet and raunchy that it's embarrassing almost. You know what I mean?
And
It's
it's
not.
everywhere all the time. When they're doing the traditional, so like in the country, in both of those countries are Muslim countries, but for the Gambia in particular, when
Mhm.
you're walking down the street, women are wearing longer dresses. They're more or less covered up, things like that. Now they may do those dances when that traditional music comes on in the location where the music is, but you're not like here. You're subject to be in the grocery store. Somebody's twerking. I mean, they just I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what's wrong with our people.
No, it's bad. Like I know a lot of people who don't see any fault in it or any wrong, but I do. I'm still there. Like, look, do not do that in front of me. And it's not that I don't. I mean, I see you doing it, and if my spouse is around, it's just like I feel like you're being inappropriate. So it's like, come on, let's remove ourselves from this. But he doesn't find anything wrong with it, but I do, because
Well,
if
he's a man, so I don't
yeah,
see what he would
but I
be
always flip
objecting.
everything. So if a man takes out his private parts and starts gyrating and whipping it around, do you want me to stand there and
Oh,
smile? Look
girl. In the
when you
before I left, we
their
were
boobs
we
out or bending over, with their
they're doing it.
yeah.
There's in the African, I remember before I left, my girlfriend and I went to the African after hour spot, and I was just mesmerized. They were playing videos. The men now have a dance where girl, they are gyrating and doing. It's much more attractive when they do it from my perspective, but
Like
they're
walk
doing
up
it.
on that sometimes with my spouse and see something like that and be like, no,
Oh, girl, they are doing it. I mean, it's not twerking, but they are really
there's
moving
something
their
sexual.
hips and moving their bodies in a way that lets you know I put it down. But it's to the music. So I think that I don't really have a problem with twerking at the club, at the
No,
party,
no,
when the music's on. But at the restaurant and the grocery store and in the middle of the protest, and I think that, it's inappropriate.
I don't understand it, and I know this is a free bird country where everybody's roaming free and doing their thing and living their best life. It's just I feel like for our race, can we please just tone it down and have some class? That's all
It
I'm at.
goes back to what we were talking about Little Nas X. Are we going to have any boundaries? Are we going to have any standards? Or are we going to succumb to the notion that anything goes and then
Yep.
suffer the consequences that come in when you open yourself up to anything at all
I think that's
times?
where we are. I think keep pushing the bar until it breaks. I really
Mhm.
do. I
I think
think
so
that's
too.
where we are.
I think so too. And then okay, so the other piece about Paul Pierce was that Disney terminated him
Yeah, because
because
this
he works for ESPN and they own ESPN.
and they're supposed to be known for like family oriented, so I guess what you do at work and what you do at home is a reflection of them, and that's what people were upset about. They're like, he's a man, he's living his best life, he's at home, that shouldn't be a reflection of anybody. Once he's at work, he turns on his work face, and once he's at home he should be able to have his, let his hair down and do whatever he wants. But I'm still, I guess it's old school ways of thinking. I am like that too. I do not need my pastor in the strip club. I'm sorry. Yes, that's his personal life, but I want my pastor to show and prove. I want him to have the whole kit and caboodle. I want him to be a pastor. I want him to preach the gospel, and I want him to live by it also. And if he can't, give it to somebody who can be devoted.
So this is the thing. I think that actors, even way back in the day of the old actors, they had what were called morality clauses in
Mhm.
their contracts. And I think that in certain situations, it might make sense, like with Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera and all of those that were little Disney actresses. Then there's a certain way that you need to act if you want to maintain that. With Lisa Bonet, remember that in the
Yeah,
Cosby
she was one of
Show?
the biggest ones. Cosby outs her when she did that movie.
Because it's like this is a wholesome thing and you need to uphold that image.
Mhm.
But how does that apply to an athlete
That's
who we know
perfect.
was sleeping around when he was an athlete and now on ESPN is not pretending to be, he's not a Disney star. The fact that Disney owns his network, the
Yeah,
network he works on, is that appropriate? I
that
mean, for,
is a perfect analogy that you brought to the forefront about Lisa Bonet and Bill Cosby, because here she's living her best life with a wonderful husband, beautiful family, and he's in jail for being a pervert. So it's like, come on now. Even if we could go back in time, do you keep Lisa Bonet and say, "Look, boo, the movie was a little ratchet for our,
I
for
still think he wasn't wrong. I think that if you're a Disney star or you're Bill Cosby's daughter on the movie, on
Mhm.
the TV show, and the people are looking at you with a certain image, it's okay to say you're a celebrity, you're a public figure. And just because you're not on the job doesn't mean you don't have to uphold certain standards.
Well,
But I don't think that we take that and apply it to everybody.
and
This guy,
I'm not
it doesn't make sense to me.
but I'm just using him as my reference. I'm not definitely not. I love
You're
him.
saying because of the outcome of how both of their lives are.
Exactly. I mean, like I want to repeat, I love Bill Cosby. He's one of my favorite comedians. I have nothing but respect for him. But if it was true and he did do this malice thing, then you know,
Then he's where he should be. Well, he
right,
should be out like everybody else now because of
right,
COVID.
right.
I don't even want to start getting into that racism because it's a double standard. But I think that in the example that we're talking about with Bill Cosby and Lisa Bonet, hopefully that's just an extreme outlier. And
That's
most people
perfect.
aren't drugging and raping women.
If he was home doing this in his personal life,
He kept it undercover. We
yeah.
didn't know about it.
That's where we
Good point.
say about the Paul Pierce thing. Had he had just did it, didn't film it, or no one else filmed it, it would have been a great day.
I don't think that should apply to Paul Pierce. He is, from what you're telling me, he's a talking head on a sports show.
Mhm.
So why do we think that he has to have some crystal clean, sparkling clean image? It
Okay.
applies for people who put themselves in front of children. Bill Cosby was trying to have a family atmosphere. I
Okay.
think depending on the nature of what you do, it might apply.
Mhm.
But certain people, I'm not expecting him to be squeaky clean. I'm
Okay.
not expecting a pro athlete who's probably slept with hundreds of women to present some image that all of a sudden he's squeaky clean. But let's say maybe even if you're a news anchor,
Mhm.
that we have to be able to respect and trust, maybe that. But I think a sports caster,
Okay. Well, I think that's what everybody else is feeling up in arms about. They're like, come on now. Like, he's an athlete. What did you expect his home life was like if he's single and living his best life? But
a woman need people to stop talking about living their best life because you know what? They just use that to cover up anything. Oh yeah, you're a demon now. You're living your best life.
that's
I mean,
right, right.
oh yeah, you're I mean like whatever. Well, they're living their best life. No, well, they might be living a life that's not their best, but
Mhm.
that's a whole other
What my
issue.
kids say, YOLO. They always
You
say
only live once.
YOLO. So
Mhm.
I'm like, oh my God, they all have these new sayings. But yeah, that's where I stand. I think that, you know, he should still be at work. I think he should have maybe had a talking to and be like, come on, man, you got an image to uphold. You do work for Disney. But to lose his job for something he posts in his private life definitely hurt me to
Are
my
those people even aware that they're owned by Disney? I think that when you're looking at ESPN, you're not looking at, I don't watch Disney anymore because our kids are a lot older, but I'm not looking at it as one of those Disney shows. I'm looking at it as a sports show. And
like
I did a video on this too. The media is now consolidated into the hands of like 5 or 6 companies like Sony,
yeah.
Disney, whatever. So the fact that Disney owns 600 channels
Mhm.
shouldn't mean that you have to uphold a Disney standard
Mhm.
regardless of what kind of channel you're on because they own darn near everything, you
Mhm.
know? I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know.
I think but they have so many layers because you had Hannah Montana, and she didn't want to be Hannah Montana anymore. She wanted to be Miley Cyrus. So she pushed the bar so far. And I just think when they think that anybody's getting out of line, with doing stuff, they want to make sure they be like, okay, listen, I'm going to have to punish you really bad so no one else does it after you. Because you think about it, that speaks volumes. Paul Pierce getting fired from that job has, even if you're at home and you work for the company right now, you're going to revamp yourself. You're
Oh,
going to,
you're gonna definitely. I mean, there is something to be said about everything you do doesn't have to be on social media.
that is true.
So maybe it's not even that he did it. Maybe it's that he had the audacity to post it.
Right. I think I believe him posting it, him glamorizing it. I think that's what it was the shameful part for them. I mean, maybe if the tape had leaked or somebody else had posted it, he probably would have gotten a talking to. But because he glamorized it, he posted it. Oh, and also I probably left out a little, and it's just a small detail, but he did have glossy eyes, like he was high or drunk or something. So that didn't make it any better.
Well, he was turned. So I mean, yeah.
Exactly. No, he was turned up. He was
Mhm,
turned up. So yeah,
mhm.
I think all of that played into their image of this is not the cookie cutter lifestyle we.
So that's what we're expecting from Shaq and Charles Barkley, that they don't engage with strippers and that they don't go out and tie one on. Is that the standard for
I think
athletes
Superhead
now?
had a bestseller letting everybody know what the in crowd does.
Who did?
Superhead, she was a
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Corinne, whatever her name was. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I
she
mean, I don't know. It's just a little weird to me to apply it to somebody like that. But if I were in a decision-making capacity, I wouldn't do that. I might have a talk with them about, we don't need you posting it on social media. We know you're going to do those kinds of things. Don't let us see it on social media again. But I'm firing you because you didn't uphold the
they're
Disney
getting backlash.
standard. It's
Yeah.
crazy to me.
Disney's getting a lot of backlash from firing him. So he has a lot of support out there right now. But there's people who, feel like, come on, this is your workplace. You got to hold, like I said, the pastor analogy. You got to play the part.
But your pastor is different from your basketball star.
Yeah, no, no, no. I agree.
and your teacher,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know, and stuff like that.
yeah. Well,
All right, so we should follow that and see, do they recant and bring him back, or is it, or does he get another position? Does someone else step in and pick him up, or is he done because he had a party?
yeah, I hope he's not. I pray that he, gets his job back, and I pray that he apologizes for his actions and realizes that was, childish at 40 something years old to show
That's
you.
true, and we're not 18. We did
Yeah,
not grow up in the generation where every meal and every outfit and everything
yeah,
had to be on social media, so he could keep some of that to himself. That's a
I agree. I think he should keep a lot to himself. Like there should be some,
point.
you know, there should be some boundaries. I think we should set forth moving
Well,
forward.
then how come, okay, now we're just going down a different road, but why is it that Cardi B can be living her best life, practically doing soft porn on TV, but a grown
You talking about
athlete,
the award show?
yeah, on social media, I mean, Cardi is all over the place. Megan the Stallion, I don't want to just pick on Cardi. I mean, it's that generation, Nicki Minaj, all of them are doing all kind of stuff, but we don't talk about firing them. And in fact, when we've had conversations about them, we said they were living their best life. So why is the standard different for a whole grown man?
Because I feel like she doesn't have a job that she's in a contract with that has a standard of family life. Like I've been hearing that Disney was a humdinger in his own right. I've been
Yeah,
hearing all of this stuff, but
yeah.
I don't know if it's true. I wasn't there. They haven't really showed any evidence. It's all hearsay about his racism and his, whatever, whatever, and his innuendos that he's put in certain, cartoons that went over our.
Oh yeah, I saw that. The
Yeah,
the
so
bulges and the sex and all that stuff, you can see it. I don't think that that stuff is made up, is there.
it's
The
there,
stuff
right?
about his personality, we can't confirm or deny. But
Exactly.
that stuff
So,
in those movies is there.
so I definitely don't like it if it's like good for the goose, but it's not good for the gander. I don't like that at all. I feel, but I also don't want you pushing the bar to make it unpleasant for me.
Do
I
you feel that a pro athlete, a former pro athlete who is now a sportscaster or commentator, I guess they're calling them now, um, has a contract that requires him to uphold a level of family values, even though he's just commentating on sports for a whole bunch of athletes who are traveling around the daggone country, sleeping with that hose in every area code, the way they call it?
I think they have that contract, but they allow them a window or a rope, which we, the old saying is give you enough rope to hang yourself with. Because I know that there have been, athletes who have maybe abused their wives and have lost their beautiful $1 million paying job. There've been athletes who.
It's different though. Beating up your wife or raping somebody is different from hiring women who make it their business to go around stripping for people. They didn't coerce them, or, you know what I mean? They just hired them and paid them to do what they do.
But then there's still people out here who support them, who have family values and say them that yourself. Like when Janet did the stunt where she had her
She
breast.
didn't do it. Justin Timberlake did it. So why were they, this country, why were they even honing in on her? She didn't do anything. Justin Timberlake did that. He pulled that off and exposed her nipple, not her.
And for that, the backlash was, I'm a family, not for me, of course. I parallel everything, but I'm a family woman. I'm a family man. I have children. I don't want them to be in a part of this until I'm ready to subject them to this. So I need you to not put this in my child's face.
Well, that was on primetime TV on a Super Bowl concert where we knew that all families, want to watch those commercials and all that stuff. Now, let me ask you this because I don't remember. Was that before Angelina Jolie kissed her brother at the award show? Was that before Madonna kissed Britney Spears? Because the standards have been
All
sliding a
of
long
same
time.
pushing button time. I think that they couldn't have been more, a year less than all around the same time. I really do. I think Janet probably was first because she's a groundbreaker and she's a button pusher. And I
She
think,
didn't do that. I can't say enough.
well, I
Justin
think they were in on it
Timberlake pulled
together.
that out and exposed her breasts. She didn't do that.
But I think they were in on it because she had a beautiful tassel underneath. So I think they were in on it, and he just tucked his tail between his legs and threw Janet under the bus. And he's admitted to that.
Because I didn't see him getting any
No.
backlash. I saw him go on to be a top singer singing our music. That's what I saw.
Yeah, and he's apologized. Janet said he came and apologized to her and said he should have been manned up and he shouldn't have threw her under the bus. But well, he really didn't do too much damage to her. But it was hard. Don't forget, Michael Jackson was on trial at the time, so I thought it was a whole family ploy. Like, I'm gonna take the heat off of you for a minute, Mike. They're gonna be talking about me. Give me a minute. I'll come up with something. That was my analogy, because we were only focused on Janet.
Anything's possible. Anything's possible.
Right. So I feel like she was groundbreaking for pushing the bar. So the Super Bowl and the halftime shows, they were starting to get crazy. And I think they reeled it back and said, listen, I said we are a family company and we want you all to keep it clean and we want you all to keep it neutral so we don't have any backlash. And I feel like Disney is in that same category with, listen, I understand you have a family life and I understand you have a personal life, but if you want to work for this company, what you do on and off the job matters. And you know that because I'm quite sure you've read contracts where you can't wear a logo if you're going to go protest. If I work for your company, your law firm.
And my sorority doesn't, Delta Sigma Theta doesn't want us doing that. They don't want us to wear paraphernalia, which is what we call it, if we're going to be out doing stuff
in your
like
personal life, even though that's a part of you, and even though that's your thing, they don't want you doing your thing on their time. They just don't. And when you have that apparel on, you're on their time. So I believe that that's how Disney looked at it. And that's where I fall in with, nobody's perfect. You could have gave them a talking to, but I get what you're saying. You'd rather.
I agree with that. And then normally I'm on the side of, oh no, cancel Lil Nas. But this time I'm like, in this current culture, in this current climate, with everything that everybody else is doing, I just can't imagine that they thought that was appropriate. But I don't want to get into, I'll just leave it alone and say, I don't really see it. But I think based on what you're saying and based on the reaction, that perhaps a lot of the country feels the way
so
that
let me
you
throw
feel.
this at you. One of the comments, before we get off the subject, one of the comments was, well, if he had a group of gay men twerking behind him,
It'd be okay.
And everyone was saying, oh my God. And it hurts so bad because
But it's true.
went there in my mind. I said, I can see how
They be telling us how they living their best life.
Yeah, they would be
why
afraid.
are we being homophobic and all that foolishness that they always say.
It hurt a lot when I read that comment, because I was like, wow, this is the world we've come to, where you've paired beautiful heterosexual women with beautiful heterosexual men. They're doing what you might consider inappropriate in their spare time. But if they happen to have been gay men that was filmed, you would call it celebrating. Right. Celebrating their femininity.
I agree with that. I agree that there's a double standard because there's a certain agenda to make sure we accept all this gender fluidity. And I mean, they're really going far with that. So I didn't think about that, but yeah, whoever came up with that, I believe it and I agree. All right. So the next thing we wanted to talk about is you came across something about good hair versus bad hair.
New thing where women are coming out. I mean, it's not new. I've heard it when I was younger, but it was always said as a joke. But women are like, I am not having a baby with a guy with bad hair. I need to know your 4C, 1A, 2B. I need to know which.
I love 4C hair.
I was like, we're not saying it.
Talking about 4C hair is black hair, is natural hair with our curly coil and all that. I love 4C hair. I don't think I have it, but I love it.
I have been learning more about hair as I've been getting older and knowing that our energy comes from it and why it was created this way and what we got from it and how it's more healthier in our natural state. I literally, and it's our antenna to our world.
I have heard that too, and it's the closest thing to above.
Yes, and so I wish that the women who were saying this, who were saying, I'm not going to have a dark-skinned baby. And I remember that
they're talking about skin and hair.
And I remember there's a young rapper, my kid's age, Kodak Black. I remember him, and I don't know if he spoke on.
I know who Kodak Black is.
Yeah, he said that he was definitely not having a black baby. He was not having a baby because he said he was black, and I guess it was rough for him being a dark skin, even though he's famous.
They
And
didn't want anybody that was dark like him.
yeah, and
Mhm.
that hurts because I don't see race in that aspect. Like my daughters tan when the summer comes and they're on the beach, they are tanning. They lay out, they get dark, and they love their color. And I
Well,
personally,
that's good.
I suffer from a skin disorder because of my burns. I can't lay with
Oh.
them. But
Mhm.
I did when I was younger. And I look back at my pictures and I love my even skin. And I used to love seeing my tan lines. I would wear off the shoulder shirts to show that, I was a little lighter right here with my tan line, but I'm very dark now. And of course, so I miss those times. So I don't know what era and where we shifted, where brown skinned women, dark skinned women are saying, I'm not having any more dark skinned children. I want good hair, light skinned children. And that when I
Still discrimination against darker skinned kids. And so, and maybe that
you said
there's
it's
still
still
discrimination, yeah, even in our kids' era, between the darker skinned people, they'll be telling them they're too dark for this and you're too dark to wear that lipstick and that sort of thing. So I don't agree with any of those positions that we're talking about. But
mhm.
now that you mention it, I realize that maybe they're trying to protect their children from the same level of it's the color line. They're being discriminated against by our own people, and they're
Okay.
trying to protect their children from that. But I think that instead of giving into that and
Mhm.
moving away from dark skin and natural 4C hair, we need to change how we view
Do it.
those things. That's
I
really
just
what we need to do.
having an aunt when I was younger say, you need to stay out of that sun. You're getting dark. The
Yeah,
only
they
thing
used to
I
say
can see
that.
you is your eyes. I wouldn't even know your teeth. If you didn't smile and I didn't see your eyes, I wouldn't even know you were standing there. And and I never took it in, and it never hurt me. It never bothered me. Never made me want to stay out of the sun. I laughed it off, of course, but I didn't even know back then they were programmed to believe that, why can't I go in the sun? Why, even if I do get darker, how is that hurting anyone? But you're right, the opportunities have been shut down for even though the greatest has been Michael Jordan, Naomi Campbell, one of the most beautiful women who've ever walked, the earth, and full lips, 4C hair. And
And even though all of the white people are trying to do they're increasing their derriere, let's call it, to mimic us. They're getting injections in their lips. They're always tanning. Some of them are wearing darker foundation I saw a picture of Kim Kardashian like that makes
oh,
them
I
look
saw that.
black.
Yeah, she actually.
So they're steadily running behind us, trying to be us,
Mhm,
even as they're telling us that what we are is not good. And
mhm.
so the thing is now, especially in this day and age, to wake up and say what we are is the best. And when we open our eyes, we see that all the people around the globe are really trying to be like us. I
They're
mean,
probably not programmed yet to realize we need to be James Brown. I'm black and I'm proud.
well, some of us are. There are like growing groups of conscious people who understand all of that. But I mean, they're still the ignorant masses. And the question is, do they come over to us or do they just stay over there where they are?
Because
Because
I feel
to me,
like
that's ignorant. See, the kind of hair that they're searching after, that limp hair that just hangs down and doesn't do anything. I've seen white people putting dental floss and
well,
crap in
you're
their
right.
hair, trying to get locks and stuff. But
We
we have hair that defies gravity. I
right.
mean, nobody else has that. We have to begin to embrace the things that make us who we are.
That is the new thing that perms are coming back for the Caucasian race to make their hair kinkier.
Oh, those curly perms. Because, yeah,
I
yeah.
was just looking that up, and I said maybe, because the Afro era did have a great impact of, I'm black and I'm proud. I wonder, could it come back again in this era, and we see more pride, we see more people wanting to embrace, our natural look, and
You
I
don't
know
see
we're not.
that increasing? I see that. I
You do?
see a lot of people wearing natural hair. There are a lot of YouTubers that tell you how to
Mhm,
manage your 4C hair.
mhm.
I mean, I wear afros in some of my videos. I go
'Cause
out
you're
and
all
I see
natural too.
women. Hmm?
You're all natural also, right?
Yeah, but I mean, this is a wig.
Yeah, right.
But under this, I'm natural. I wear my afro, I wear my twists. I see women on the street and I'll be like, wow, your curl pattern is phenomenal. And it's
Mhm,
just kinky hair, but they put the gel and make it defined. And
mhm.
I think that a lot of us have embraced our hair. But again, you know, there's that whole group that still wants to wear Euro wigs. And I'm not gonna talk that much because I got a wig on right now, but you know what I'm saying.
Get it because I've seen your daughter hair and she has beautiful hair, and I don't want anyone to necessarily think when I say her hair is beautiful, I'm talking about mixed hair.
Yeah,
People,
she doesn't really have 4C hair.
no, she has
She doesn't
beautiful
have 4C
black
hair.
girl
She
hair.
has, no, she has, we've been in America and they raped our ancestors and some of them have intermarried. And so we no longer have the African hair that we started out with.
Right,
Her
right.
hair is even more of a texture than mine. She doesn't
But
have,
I still think that's beautiful. I don't think that's something that we can say, well, that's not even, strong enough, or that's not even
no, I
that.
think most people think the kind of hair she has is great because she can wash that hair, brush it and make it straight, leave
Mhm.
it wavy. That's what they consider good hair. That's
Yeah,
not the hair they're talking about. They're talking about African hair. You
right.
know, where they used to say his hair's so kinky, he has a postman route or whatever
Mhm, mhm.
they're talking about black, authentic hair.
And I was wondering why and how did that become a negative? And I know we'd have to go way
Since slavery. Everything
back.
they
It was about
everything has
the hair though. Of all the things you could have said our broad noses. You could have said
they
I think
did. They did.
the hair have to take such a place on its own.
It was all of that. You don't remember? It was everything that made us us. They complained about the big lips. They complained about the broad noses. They complained about the hair. They complained about our complexion. They complained about our big behinds. They had a whole agenda to make
But then the
everything.
woman on display, boasting about
Sarah Bartman,
her bottom, and there's a movie coming out, and I can't
her
wait.
name is Sarah Bartman, and they made her into a circus act. They weren't lifting her up as somebody to be admired and to be like. They were making fun of her for things that are natural to us. They've always done that.
So then you take something that was once beautiful and you saw that where it came from was beautiful, and you say, but we must take that and make it negative if we're going to bring it to the new world.
No, because, well, this is just my own viewpoint. In order to, I don't know what to tell you. Everything it
Totally
stems from
control.
slavery. It stems from slavery, and
Mhm.
everything about us was made into a negative. But those, this is just a little complicated and a little more off topic, but those white women were always threatened by us. That's why Black women had to start wearing headscarves all the time. They didn't want us showing our hair. That's why they came up with those bustle skirts in Victorian days with the
Oh yeah,
hoop.
to make it look like
They
that
were
big.
trying to imitate what we had. So we have to open our eyes and realize the fact that somebody denigrates or speaks negatively about who you are doesn't mean they really see it negatively. And when you see them trying to be what you are, you have to open your own eyes and take that veil down and say, I have what they want to be. I have the skin that they're going to the tanning booth to get.
So
Why would I feel bad about it?
I mean, it's. I'm not rushing us out of this mindset, but why haven't we started the process? I haven't seen
We
it.
have. Well, the people that I know, we have. The people that I know embrace their blackness and all the elements of it. But the masses who are still watching TV and being brainwashed and drinking fluoride water and all that stuff, it's hard to break through. It's hard to break through to them because you know they're just susceptible to the programming. But the people that I connect with, and I had to realize that the people I see on social media, the things I see are different than what other people see, because certain things I'm not following, and I'm following people who think like I think. So I might be misled about
But
how many people are
I leave my phone
connected.
around when I talk because I know that once I speak it around my phone, it will pop up. And I don't care what anyone tells me. I'm not.
Yeah, no, that's what they monitor you.
So, and I want my phone to research and say, okay, well, this is a like-minded person. Because I believe that that's how I'm able to stumble across a lot of different things on the path that I want our truth to be on as raising young adult children. in this world, I want to know the foundations of how to reprogram and teach them to love themselves first, but also respect other people's love for themselves. That's sane. Because I don't want you, I don't need you to love something that you clearly can sit back in your brain and say, that's not normal. You want to marry a, a puppy next week. No, I want to, because the world is crazy. So I always have to, dot my I's and cross my T's when I speak. So if it's sane and it's real and it's tangible, I want you to embrace it and love it for them and for yourself. But I say that as a parent, but at the end of the day, I want my children to be raised different than 400 years ago, 50 years ago. I want them to be raised different. I want them to be free to do all the things that make them prep their hair, wear it how you want to wear it, your skin, lighten it, not lighten it, but darken it. And if you want to darken it, and if you want to let your tan go in the wintertime and not go to a tan in bed or put on dark makeup to look darker, fine. That's fine with me, but I don't want you being programmed to think that there's a standard of keen nose, you know, big hips and butt, and a certain type of hair texture. I want to get away from that, and I feel like they already on that path. They already like
I
themselves,
do. I see it more and more.
but I just feel like I had to struggle to identify with that. I want them to know you have been around a culture of people, but that doesn't make you them. You're still, like, I don't want to say different because I hate saying that they're different, but I want to
You mean the fact that your daughter spends so much time around white people? Is that what you're talking about?
really what I'm trying to say without saying
Okay, okay. And you want them to retain their
black.
ethnicity and
There's no
be proud
blackness.
of
I
who
don't even
they
want to
are.
beat around the bush. I want them to retain their blackness, whatever that description of umbrella. And I'm talking about in the most intellectual blackness. I'm not no stereotypical blackness. I'm saying I want them to know their history, that they came from kings and queens. I want them to know that they're royalty. I want them to know that they should be black and they should be proud, no matter who they marry, who they date, what job they have, their economic background. I just want them to know without knowing and I having to put it in their face that you're black, and not saying black first, but that you're black. Because I say it because I don't want them to feel like, why do I have to say I'm a CEO or I'm a business owner that is black? Why can't I just be that? I want that for them. I want them to just be.
You want that Martin Luther King not judged by the content of by the color of your skin, but by the content of your character thing. I
Absolutely.
think that some of the way our children feel about things like that um, depend upon how we viewed those things and acted when they were coming up. So
Mhm.
my kids are darker skinned. I don't know really know why because their dad's lighter than me. But when I was younger, I spent a lot of time outside. So I think most of my pictures were darker. And now you're grown up. You're not like outside playing 21 and all that every day. What that I'm trying to make is that I have always been pro-black. I
Mhm.
have always embraced my blackness. I've always been about black love, all those kinds of things. So I think some of that they just automatically absorbed
Mhm.
because that's how we were living. Their dad is like that as well. Not as much as me, but he definitely likes being a black person. And I think that
See?
they soak that up. I
You
think
what
they
you just said? You said he likes being a black person.
we like being black. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Do
I
you know
wouldn't trade
I
it for anything.
I can't say that was my whole life.
Okay.
I
So then, so then your children, I just think that our children see and absorb the
Mhm.
unspoken and they pick that up. And so now that they're older, if you feel differently, you can certainly have those conversations and make it a conscious thing. But I
Mhm.
think that my kids absorb some of that because we're just like that anyway,
Okay.
and we don't really love I would leave it at that. We're just like that anyway. And
No,
so
I
they pick that
appreciate
up from us.
I appreciate that. That is honesty, and that's how I really feel. That I feel like I say it probably more now than I've ever said it in my life. I like being black.
Oh, I love it.
Whatever black is in the definition that feels good to be black, I like it. And I feel like I wasted so much time. And I never wanted to be any other race. So I'm not saying that meaning
But
I
you
wish I
didn't
was
fully embrace your blackness.
that's what I'm saying. I
And
without knowledge. So I was absent of that.
I think that we have to give ourselves a break sometime. So like the grandmother that raised me looks white.
Hmm.
I show you a picture, he's like, that's an old white lady. No, that was my grandmother. And I don't know how I didn't end up with color issues
Hmm.
because of being my aunt that lived with me, they all look like that. But
Hmm.
I look the way I look and I've always been happy with it. And I don't know how that happened, but I think we have to give ourselves a break for being a product of the environments we grew up in. You talked about growing up in Annapolis around a lot of whites,
Hmm.
not having many blacks in your school.
Hmm.
That's definitely going to have an impact on you.
Hmm.
Now you feel differently. You can have those conversations with your children, hope that they do differently for your grandchildren and all of that. But I just don't think we should be beating ourselves up for being who our environment made us. We take responsibility and change it when we're older, but your environment affects you and it shapes who you are as a child for sure.
Totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. I feel like my environment gave me the best of both worlds, and I would never change it. But the older I get, I realize, okay, we did some pretty awesome things. Boy, I wish I had known that for myself as I was younger. I probably would have pushed myself harder.
Mm,
And because I was of lack of that knowledge, I didn't. I didn't think
but
I did anything. Yeah, no, I do think I did less, but I feel
you
like
think that because you were black and you weren't aware of the historical accomplishments of blacks, that you didn't try to do as much as you otherwise would have done?
nope, I'll probably say it in a later episode, and I'll make sure I write it down so we never forget. But I'll tell you exactly what my mind frame was.
Wow, yeah, we didn't talk about that. I would love to hear that. I never see I grew up in the post civil rights era. So black is beautiful, brown is hip, yellow is mellow, and white ain't S. So everything was turned around for
What?
me.
I've never heard that one.
Everything was turned, that's all I grew up knowing. Black is beautiful, brown is hip, yellow is mellow, and white ain't S. And we would say the word even though we were kids,
Mhm.
and it rhymed and
Stay back. Yellow might have been mellow, and
white
red,
is
red,
right.
and then it was white. You right. You
Yeah,
all.
see, when I grew up, all that was twisted around. I grew up right after the Black Power,
Mhm.
everything. So like my teachers, one of my teachers was a cousin of Aretha Franklin, and everybody was black, and we're into education, and we're young, gifted, and black. And I just grew up in a different time where there was James Brown. I say
Mhm.
it loud. I'm black and I'm proud. So all that stuff probably I'm sure, like I'm just saying, the same way your environment impacted you, mine impacted me. So I learned to love being Black from an early age.
So I'm glad you said Aretha Franklin, because that can like turn this full circle for me, because that was the name that I wanted to bring up when we were talking about how we want our pastors to be good all the way through. Now, from what I've heard, he was a great pastor, a
Who is
mega
he? Who is
pastor.
he?
Aretha Franklin's father. I'm sorry,
Okay, okay.
great
I
pastor.
heard her father was a pastor.
But then I said when the doors closed at night, I heard he ran like the best brothel and best orgies. And yeah, and they said he got it in. And I mean, there was so many things, that came out about her father. And so that's what I meant by those things were done in the dark. Nobody knew, so you were able to
Mhm.
still respect your life and respect life, and then and be held to a higher standard. And then when now that everything's exposed, even and I'm not just belittling my people, but even Martin Luther King, my whole life he was known as the greatest.
Yeah.
And then I think I'm gonna say the year because I know who I was and where I was at the time. So it was like 94 where he it started coming out. And I think that's when his wife, Coretta Scott King, was starting to write her autobiography. And she was letting the people know that, she wasn't going to be living much longer. And when she did pass, you could tell it all. But while she was on earth, you were not going to shame his name. So, of course, once she passed, that's when Mary J. Blige came out with the movie showing that he, had improprieties. And my whole life, that's all I've ever known was he was the greatest. So when I heard about the improprieties, I either chose to say that was a lie, the government's making it up, they just want to shame his name, they got to tarnish our name, they got to put an asterisk behind our name, and I did the whole thing. But then when I saw that it was
Acceptable, I mean, accepted as true.
yeah, it was accepted as true by his wife, which I don't know what truth she was given, whether it was a video, because it would have had to been a video for me, because you can make anybody sound like my husband, ooh and now with a bunch of women. Don't mean it's my husband, whatever. Because I know there are people
But
that
you know, your instinct tells you when something's not right, when someone's not true, and all that
said
sort of
she
stuff.
already knew, and then they just reaffirmed what she thought, and then that's why she was able to tell her truth once she was gone. But why can't life still be that way? And what's the problem for my kids to have that type of life? Because I felt like
The
that's
life where you hide who you really are, or the life where you are better than, because like with Aretha Franklin's dad, when I was listening to you, I'm thinking what we really want is people who are really upstanding and have a conscience and do what they say, they do what they preach. But I guess if you can't be that, you should at least hide your crap,
but
hide
that's
your
my
dirt.
point. Like, even if that person does exist, even if there's a person who's good from the beginning to the end, he never makes it.
Nobody's perfect. Yeah.
No, he never makes it.
But saying that nobody's perfect is different from saying you're a preacher and then at night you're running orgies and whorehouses, and you know what I mean? Like I don't even care if you're hiding it. I don't want you to be my preacher because you don't have the connection to spirit. I don't want a preacher at all. But if I was into that, you
No.
wouldn't be able to have the connection with spirit that I would need you to have because you're too impure in the stuff you're doing.
So what about the quotes that we've heard? If you haven't walked a mile in my shoes, how you gonna tell me how to do it?
I'm
So
not saying that.
if
I'm
you
not saying that.
temptations and you know that I'm impure and you know that I have different things that I dibble and dabble in, but you were able to preach to me through it. I mean, is that a double standard? Are
See,
you
I personally don't want that. I believe in energy.
okay?
And where we talked about that, I don't want somebody who's dealing in the darker things
Mhm,
to be my preacher on Sunday morning. Now, if I don't know about it, there's not a lot I can do about it. So in those days when they were hiding things, it
mhm,
just is what it is.
mhm.
But if I knew, I wouldn't want that. And I'm not perfect. I don't think anybody's perfect. I believe in second chances. I believe in forgiveness. I believe in fessing up and moving in a new direction. But all that's different from I'm one way on Sunday mornings and all the rest of my life at nighttime, I'm just wilding out. That's a whole
So,
different
so do
thing.
you feel like Kurt Franklin should have been damned for cussing his son out, or do you think that falls into the same category as in
I don't know. I mean, I will hope to not feel that way to be saying what he was saying to his son, but
okay,
those are men. Those are men, and the
so
way
let's
that men
say
deal with each other might be different. And
okay.
I certainly go off and curse. Not, I don't call my kids names,
Mhm,
but I may say damn or s or whatever I want to say. I just don't call them names. But if you really tick me off, you're
mhm,
gonna hear some curse words when I'm laying you out. You're just not gonna hear me calling you names. So we all probably have cursed to our children or
mhm.
at our children. I don't really want to judge him because I don't, they seem to have some other kind of relationship. You know, and I didn't think, I listened to that. I didn't think it was something I would want to do, but it wasn't anything to say we got to cancel Kirk Franklin.
Yeah, I just feel like we live in an entitled. This generation, Gen Z, is so entitled. I feel like they have been raised like the rich, the two brothers who killed their parents. What were the Menendez
Oh, the
brothers?
Menendez, bro, that
Yeah,
was
I feel
scary.
like we're raising the softer version of the Menendez kids. I really do. You had kids who were rich, entitled, but just needed it faster and more. And I really feel like that's this era. I feel like I used to hear my grandparents talk so highly of their mama and papa, mama. I mean,
Excuse
they
me.
had conversations. Bless you. They had conversations where everything was mama. It was never my mother, her mother, our mother. It was mama and papa. That's all they knew. And they loved them. And I heard those conversations and those stories my whole life. And my
But
mother and her sister, those conversations weren't as strong as my thank God for grandparents, older grandparents, because I know that's where a lot of love and knowledge came from. And my like I said, my mother and her sister they didn't really talk like that about mama and papa and their mother and father, even though they had a mother and father. I didn't hear them. I heard them talk of them, that they, and things that they've done, and but it wasn't like my grandma.
Reverence, like,
This era, I'm on the internet all the time, and all I hear is kids bash. That's why I don't talk to my mother. I haven't talked to my mother in 5 years, 10 years. That's why I hate my mother. My mother is like that. My mother thinks somebody's supposed to kiss her butt because she bought me a car. My mother thinks she's supposed to kiss me a butt. I mean,
going through a whole car and you don't feel a way?
when I tell you, we are living in an era where these kids, our Black kids, our Spanish kids, our every race and nationality, they are so entitled and so ungrateful. And it just makes me think like this is where we lost them. We lost them because I heard the whole Menendez case, and I just remember saying to myself,
I remember that. That was
"You could
outrageous.
not have given better parents." They threw their parents under the bus.
They were
They said
just greedy. They wanted what their parents had.
they wanted what their parents had, and I just and I feel like we have raised the
See, my children aren't like that. My children are not some angels. My children turn up, they mess up in school, they do all the stuff that everybody else's kids do. But I don't think my kids are entitled like that because I don't give you my stuff like that. I
I'm
don't give out, I give you good
tired.
things and I make sure you're okay, but I don't treat you like we're rich because we're not rich. And I'm not gonna be broke trying to give you stuff that we can't afford. I'm gonna give you the best that I'm able to provide you, and I'm going to work really hard to make sure that's some good stuff and it's not just substandard BS. But I'm not going to pretend that I'm rich and give all your friends iPods when they come to you. We don't have that kind of money. So they're not expecting that. So they're well aware that if you're going to get that kind of money, you better figure out something and go get it. And then you can happily take care of your mom too if you want. But I'm going to have your back and raise you and make sure you're okay. But I'm not trying to keep up with the Joneses. I don't think my kids are like that.
So of course I'm sorry I haven't gotten the name, but you remember the song "I Will Always Love My Mom." I will always love my mama.
She's my grade.
Baby.
Yeah, I think that yeah, I know that song.
You know that song, and then you know Tupac's song, "Dear Mama."
Dear mama.
See the difference. If you listen to both of them, you will see. I'm not
Well,
dissing.
his mama was a crack queen,
Right.
although
But
I mean, his mama was a different type
we
of
don't
mama.
know. We don't know because they didn't put their mamas out there like that. That's why I say the generation that came after only talk about what affects them. I mean, his mother could have been the biggest. I've heard Richard Pryor talk about his mama. I've heard,
Mama was gone. That's
huh?
why he grew up in the whorehouse with his grandmother because his mama
Yeah,
wasn't there.
his mom wasn't there, and that's why he grew up in the but he has never made it seem like that was a problem. He has always put a globe around it, a halo around his lifestyle and him growing up. And we know that if you think about it, it had to be traumatizing. And even with
Well, it certainly affected the way he dealt with and viewed women. I
right.
think his life showed us that.
Right. And I just know that I've heard too many stories in the past where they've raised some great, well, not even raised, but great kids came out of that, and they only talked highly of their parents. But this generation, even you can do 90% great for your children, but that 10% that you might have yelled or jacked them up or didn't give them what they want, that's all they focus on. And that's why I said I feel like we're raising a different generation of children because of they don't pray in school. You're not allowed to discipline your children in public anymore because you will become arrested. Everything's on the internet. Not saying that that's all in bad, because I know some parents was overdoing it, would walk out to the tree, get your switch, and beat you with it. We all agreed that when we heard those stories, they were
It
traumatized.
wasn't even the switch, it was the ironing cords and any old thing
Oh
you
yeah,
pick
oh yeah,
up. And
extension
but
cords.
to me, that was a legacy of slavery too,
Oh
of
yeah.
us, of not us, but our race abusing their kids because there's a whole lot of messed up stuff. But let me say this, there's a difference between pushing everything under the rug and hiding things. That's what that's what our race used to do. And there were all kind of pathologies and irregularities that were just covered up and never spoken about,
Mhm.
versus this thing that you're talking about now where they're airing out everything all in public and all your dirty laundry. In my mind, there's somewhere in between those two places where we should be. I
Okay,
don't want to go back to the day of hiding everything and pretending everything's great.
right.
Nor, if my kids were putting me on social media, I mean, I just would not be okay with that.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
wouldn't, and they know it, and I don't do that to them.
And I believe, like, because we all know that Marvin Gaye was, killed by his father. And
Mhm.
before, you never knew that his father was abusive, but afterwards you found out that
Found
he
out
it
after.
was
That's
history
true.
of abuse. So you never heard him write a song. You never heard him put it in somebody else's song and had them sing it. And I'm not saying that it would have been wrong or right, but what I'm saying is this exposure generation is taking this to another level. It's like they have to live it. You
Well,
know,
let me ask you this about Marvin Gaye. We're gonna have to, we're reaching our limit, so we're gonna have to pick up next week. But let me ask you this about Marvin Gaye. Do you think that if he would have gone somewhere, because Marvin Gaye was a drug abuser,
hmm, very much
do
so.
we think that that is a product of what he was experiencing in his household, that he kept quiet, and then maybe he didn't have to write it in a song, but maybe if he went to therapy or talked about it and processed it, that he could have been different. I'm just not sure that hiding things is beneficial to us, but I do agree with you that there's no reason to air all your dirty laundry,
Mhm,
and to, like when you were saying that people would say to you, yeah, I saw you on social. Yeah, that's not okay to me. That
mhm,
for
mhm,
my
mhm,
dynamics in my household,
mhm,
you'll be having a major problem out of me if
mhm.
I go to your school and somebody tells me that you were publishing or putting out our private family dynamics
You were
on
being
social
recorded.
media. Oh, you would be having, oh, wow, you would have a
But
problem out
see,
of
this
me.
is my thing. What I have to tell people now when they say stuff like, "I can't believe you talk to your children like that," or, "I can't believe you discipline your children," and I'll say, "I didn't even know I was being recorded." So
And
you
a
didn't,
lot of people probably do that. They just don't get put on social media.
right. And my thing is this: if they were in an abusive household or they were being abused, do you really think they would have recorded me?
Right,
Because
because you would have,
kids do.
right,
Yeah.
you would have torn them apart. That's the point.
Yeah. I think abused kids don't color inside of those lines. I think if they're
That's
being,
a good point.
yeah, I just think I know way too many stories, and not, I mean, they're facts, but where abused kids have ran away from home and they, left the house or went to a neighbor's house to get help because they've been, abused or whatever, and like they never done that.
But you have a point that if you were really abusing them,
Right,
particularly physically, they
right.
would never have done that because they would know that
This,
they
this
would not be able to withstand the wrath of you once you found out. So that's a point.
There was a TV show one time where this lady said, she told a white boy to turn around and raise his hand, right? And he turned around, he raised, she said, now turn back around. And when he turned back around, he put his hand down. So then she told the little black boy, turn around, raise your hand. He turned around, raised his hand. Then she said, turn back around. Well, his hand was still in the air. So the other lady said, and what was your point? And she said, you know who's being abused and who's not. The one who kept his hand in the air. And that stuck with me. So I always knew that if my kids ever felt like my parenting was really that excruciating, their hand would have still been in the air. And their
I
hands been
just feel
down by
like
their
you guys have a different family dynamic. And when I
side.
see you together and little stuff y'all are saying and laughing and whatever, I just think you have some different dynamic that you guys have developed. And it may come off on social media as a certain way, but I
And
don't think
it's
it's
okay.
all it
That's okay
appears
with
to
me. I
be.
mean, that's okay. If they feel like, I come across different, I'll promote it too. I'll say, yes, I'm just different. I parent different. But I think that in the end, that we, and I guess it's coming back around to, the confidence that I want to be able for them to live their life where they can enjoy their hair and their skin, and everything comes from, how I've raised them. But then I also think that I missed a couple of steps compared to where my grandparents were how they were raised. So I should actually go back to my greats, because my greats raised my grandparents, and the way they raised my grandparents were so strict, so protective, but so loving that they only gave them praises. And I feel like my generation, I deserve that, I deserve that. And I feel
Want
like
your roses. You like to get your roses.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I think a lot of parents I know deserve that, but they all go, Tor, we know what you're talking about. Oh, I have a lot of parents to be like, oh my girl, I got the same type of team. I got the same thing going on. And it's like, if they would ever have known what bad parenting was.
I think my son used to feel that way about me because I used to stay on his case. I was like, oh, heck no. I
Mhm.
think he just used to feel like I was always
Riding them.
riding him
Mhm.
and that I wasn't somebody that he could confide in or whatever. But we have gotten beyond that point. And my position is that I'm his mother. And
Mhm.
if that's what it took to
That's
keep
right.
him on track so
It's
that he could be the young man that I am so proud of today, that I'll take that hit. And I'll take those years when you were angry at me because I'm your mama. And
whole
now it's all worked out and you're fine. But I don't think my daughter and I ever had a relationship like that. So we were always, closer. It just was. But some of that, looking back, I think might have been what he needed to go through in order to be a man that
Mhm.
came from a single family,
Mhm.
a single parent household that was headed by a woman, because he needed to break away and establish, his manhood. But we should talk about this another time because this is just really intriguing to me. But the one thing that I do want to say before we leave this is we've all missed some steps. There are things that I did that I wish I hadn't done. There are
Mhm.
things I didn't do that I wish I had done. I mean, that's what parenting is. I don't think that anybody hit every mark. You know what I mean? I think we all miss some steps.
Whew, I'm telling you, I've missed some, and and my thing is, I think I did too much. But they told me I have. They was like, "Ma, you just did too much."
They told you that you gave them what, and financially, or what do they mean?
Just my presence was too much. They wanted
Okay.
more freedom away from me, and I wasn't having that. And I think the older I'm getting, and the more they're leaving now to pursue their life, I think I should have. I wasn't having it, but I think I should have, because now I don't know how to let go. They want
But
to go
the
the
kids always don't appreciate what they have. Like there's some kids whose
hard
parents are so hands off, they
way.
just wish somebody would come and impose discipline and be close to them. So, you got to take that stuff your kids say with a grain of salt because it's human nature to
Mhm.
always take for granted the blessings that you have. And it's a blessing to have a parent who was involved and on hand and cared.
Oh yeah, I've had
You know?
whole bunch of kids, their friends who said that to me. So
Yeah.
their friends want it, but they don't. So yeah,
Because they have it.
yeah,
Their friends don't have it.
yeah,
If they did, they probably feel differently.
exactly. And I'm hands on with everybody's kids. I love children. I always have. So yeah, we'll definitely have to carry this conversation over.
Yeah, because that's a very interesting conversation. So we can get into that next time. And I think we hit all of the three issues that we had set out for this week. So if I can go ahead and please remind me over the weekend to watch the
Oh
Behind Her Eyes, because I think that's going to be a great conversation for
yeah,
us.
yeah, because like you said, we're going to talk about grounding, and that's something that you're familiar with, and I would love to talk to everybody and let them know, because
Mhm.
that is the new thing now. Connecting with our earth.
Yes, I think so too. Well, another great conversation. I hope you all enjoyed the episode and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.